What are the basic communication skills expected from a fresher in terms of written and verbal communication?
Okay. In today's day and age, again, communication is always important in any kind of project environment. More so in today's day and age. In today's day and age, borders are dissolving, remote teams are in place. Many of the projects are done in an onshore, offshore kind of environment where your team is located at a different location while you are located at a different location. And you need to basically coordinate and communicate. So communication is anyway that's kind of contributes to 80% of the success of any project. But in the scenario and the day and age that we are currently living, it becomes, it just takes on a new dimension of significance. Keeping this perspective in mind, what we need to do is that we need to understand the communication front. Communication is just not what you are saying. Basically, it's more important of what the other person is interpreting. So it's a two-way channel. You need to understand that basically how to communicate in a way that the other person understands. It's not just the sentences that you say or the words that you frame, but it should be framed in such a way that basically it is receivable by the other end. And you need to understand the other perspective also. You need to basically understand with whom are you communicating. What is the level of information that is required by the other person. So if you are communicating with a peer in your team, he would require a different level or a different quantity of information that has to be shared with him in order for him to basically be able to move ahead or take the next step based on your communication. But if you are communicating to somebody senior, you probably need to give him the gist or give him the summary of what he is expecting in that communication. Like for example, a status. So what would you communicate in a status? So you would not give him your day-to-day or your hour-to-hour work, but you basically talk more in terms of objectives. So this is a very important dimension of communication, is to understand the receiver of your information and what is he going to expect from your information. The other thing is considering these different dimensions that are now introduced in communication. Like when you're talking on the phone, basically you need to be able to convey to the recipient in the most concise manner the information that you want to convey to him, and then re-verify whether he has understood what was supposed to be communicated. Because without verbal cues, it becomes another challenge in communication altogether. When you're talking on the phone, you don't have the visual visual cues from the person whether he has understood what has been communicated or not. So you're completely dependent on what you say. So reconfirmation is very important for you to be able to understand whether the other person has understood what you actually communicated. Saying that, the next thing is, of course, we are in a global environment and English is the language that is basically the common language that is shared between in this global market. It's very important that you understand the language and have enough command on it so that you are able to communicate and speak to various individuals in a common language which all understand. So it's very important for you to build on your vocabulary in English, so you have the right level of vocabulary and words that you can use to communicate and share what you have to communicate with various audiences. Many times you have your team not just in one location, but you may have your teams in Europe, you may have your teams in the US, you may have a team in China. Accents come into play. There are numerous other things come into play. And if your basic communication, your basic language that you're using to communicate with these various entities is not under your command, these languages, these other attributes can really mess up things in a big way and kind of be a cause of failure of a lot of projects. So command over the language is very important, and English being a common language that cuts across, it's very important for you to have a good command over the language. Written skills are of course very important. Emails are up to today at least a de facto way of communication. Of course, with the introduction of wikis and other forms of communication, those are there. But as of today, at least emails is still a very important way of communication, and you need to basically utilize your email communication to its fullest. You need to basically know how much to write and what perspective to write, and how to write what you need to communicate in a proper way. So that becomes another very important channel. of communication. So, in a nutshell, in today's day and age, communication is, it's 80% the cause of success or failure of projects. You can take any project and analyze it, and if it's a failure, I mean, you would have a reason where there's a communication breakdown that has caused the failure. So it's very important, and you really need, I mean, as a student, you really need to work on it. So when you come into a professional environment, you can deliver to your maximum.